So the IMF says that we're going to have, economic impact of about 9 trillion US dollars over the next 2 years. Now, if you put that in context, that's the size, taking out the size of the economies of Japan and Germany, right? So it's a massive loss. Come to more in line to Sri Lanka, you see that the World Bank says that we might have a little bit of negative economic growth of 0.5% to somewhere between 0.5 and 3%. But at the same time, there's a positive aspect of it as well, right? You see, oil has gone down by, its futures contract is now negative, which is very, very interesting, from a developing country perspective. And therefore, we are going to have a saving of about $2 billion as of now. So I think there are challenges in terms of economically, right? But for me, I just look at it in a flip-sided way. Now, you're predominantly IT and industry people. I looked at the amount of digitization in particular industries, right? And when I looked at that last night, I found that a lot of digitization has already happened in the industries that are predicted to go down, right? So one is aviation. Aviation has a lot of technology already invested, right? And then when I looked at the industries that are supposed to take off after this crisis, healthcare is number one. And that has so little digitization happening, right? Even patient records are so manual at the moment. So I think you have to look at it. There is no one size fits all in terms economically. I have a feeling there are different kind of rates of job losses and or growth for different industries. And from your perspective, you need to look at the digitization of the upward industries, right? The ones that are going to immediately take off, and see how much of it has already happened. And I'm telling you, healthcare, education, very low level of digitization happening. There is a panic mode driven digitization happening, particularly in education, but I don't think it's done properly, right? And so we will have to relook at it once it's up. So I think from IT and IT perspective, it's just your jobs are pretty much secure, because you are going to pay the most critical part in the way up, right? So if oil is now negative, what is the new oil? That's data. And you are in front of this whole data-driven revolution. So I think we cannot really look at it from a general perspective. I think you need to look at different industries, look at the rate of digitization of those industries, where are roles going to come in for IT and BPM. And I did a small analysis last night. I felt that was very good. I think jobs in IT BPM is going to be pretty good in the period to come. I honestly don't think there's going to be massive job losses for those in IT BPM because you play such a critical role in that, not as much as other professionals, I would say.
Thanks, Imran. I think that's a good insight, and also I think it's good news because we seem to be in the right industry. So, moving on to Dylan. What is the impact of the IT industry, and what are the changes expected in the IT industry post COVID-19?
So I'll continue with where Imran has stopped. So we are in the right industry. I'm lucky. I feel that I'm really lucky to be in the IT industry right now, because I feel that the impact is quite less compared to a few of the other industries you have mentioned now. So we are doing good right now, because I'm like, probably we are more busier than we were earlier. Because I feel that though we are working from home, lots of work being done. Probably the other panelists would also agree with me. Work is going on. It's only it's the change is like we are like everywhere now working from home or some remote places, but work is continuing. So that's a good sign. I'm like, we should be lucky that we can continue like this. But as you know, there are a few other industries which are badly impacted. So immediate impact, I believe, is quite less. We are doing okay. However, we need to think from our client's point of view as well, because say, for example, if you are a company who provides services and solutions to the tourism industry, right? So they are being badly impacted. If your customers are from the tourism industry, they might not be investing in the near future because they need to recover themselves as well, right? So because of that, we could see a lack of new projects coming in from certain industries. So if you are tied to just one industry, probably there's a slight risk with you unless you change, right? So that's where the crucial point is. Now, even you might have a brilliant product which you have done, which people have been using, but it might have been done in a pre-COVID-19 world where the needs and wants are different at that time. But now, the post-COVID-19, I believe that there will be a lot of changes happening in the world. So with that, certain functionality which you are addressing in your solutions, in your products, might not be needed anymore. Right? So this is the good time, I think, we have to start thinking of revising our products. So unless we change, we will become outdated, because you might have been, as an IT company, you might have been doing really good early and you are still doing okay. But if you don't adapt to the change, then you will be in trouble. Then the impact will be higher. So that's what I believe would be the future of IT industry. You have to change. And also what I observe is I've been speaking to lots of my colleagues as well from other companies in the IT industry. The startups and smaller companies are, compared to the enterprises, they are doing okay. But the bigger companies, some of them, have a bigger impact because like they are big, right? So you can't suddenly change your business model. You can't suddenly change the way you work. So the impact is more for them. But then again, if you need to change, you have to change, right? So probably they also start to think like an startup now and adapt to the new changes. So talking about the changes we are expecting, I mean, the first major change which the employees would face is the cost reduction. Of course, though we are doing good, we have to be cautious. So we have to practice this. We have to reduce our cost. So I don't believe in firing people or cutting down their salaries, right? But rather, if we can save some money now with reducing cost, that would make our futures much brighter. So I'm like, what I see is like most companies would have stopped the immediate recruitment, because even we have done it. I'm like, we were planning to our company, we were planning to recruit more people, and we thought we'd rather stop that rather than get more people and be in a more riskier situation. So, and maybe like all these other fancy expenses we might have to stop right now. So that would be, I believe, which would be the change the employees would face. So with that, and also I think working from home, I think it's here to stay. So earlier in Sri Lanka, I believe we were not practicing it much, though the other countries, they have been doing it. I know lots of my friends who are in other countries, it's nothing new to them. They have been always working from home. But this concept is slightly new to us, but whether we liked it or not, now we had a trial period of like over 5 weeks. I believe it's successful, and probably we might continue it, because it's not like full-time work from home, but maybe like a few days work from home, go to the office, meet your colleagues, socialize, and come back to office, come back home and work. Maybe like those are the changes probably we are expecting. With that, of course, we can reduce the cost as well. That's another way of reducing cost. At the same time, I think that it would be a benefit for the employees, because they can balance their work-life activities, be with their families more, and at the same time give whatever they can for your organization. Now, especially an organization like ours, which we are working more with Canada. We are a Canadian-based company. So with the time difference, we were struggling with the time difference. But right now, when you're working from home, that difficulty is not so much, right? Since we are at home, probably we have more flexibility of our working hours, so we can be more in touch with our colleagues in Canada. So these are the changes which I see in a positive way. And also another change is the change of the business models. As I said earlier, if you don't change, you can't survive. Though you are in the right industry, if you don't change, you can't survive. Now, take examples like Uber and PickMe. They made the applications, they had the infrastructure to deliver food, right? But now what they are delivering us grocery, gas, and even money. Money is being delivered through PICME. Right? So that's the change we are expecting, right? And you have to think in a different way. And I have seen in news that the liquor manufacturers are now manufacturing hand sanitizers. So
Yes.
that's a very good example of being open to the changes. So definitely the business models has to be changed. You have to start thinking in a different way. And the more important part is we have to be with our clients. We have to be empathetic and understand their pain points, because they are struggling. They are struggling right now, and if we don't look after them, they will not look after us in future, right? So let's be with them. Let's try to give them what they want right now. Maybe not to charge them now, but if we help them to recover, they will definitely be with us long term, and that would give that would make your organization's future much brighter.
Yeah. Thanks, Ilan. I think you're quite right. I mean, in terms of the working from home concept, I believe a lot of the companies, it's an eye opener. They've always used to having this physical presence, that sort of mentality was there. But now they're compelled to move into this work from home sort of environment. And I think this will take precedence in the future as well. So moving on to our next question from Mr. Anthony Raja. I believe the IT industry is going to play a big part in this crisis, like we just said, on online video platforms, e-commerce payment gateway providers. They are the guys who are actually increasing their stock value at the moment. So globally, I think Dylan also touched on it a bit. Are we going to see any emergence of new industries or domains? And if so, what sort of skill sets do employees actually need to acquire the relevant new industry roles that they're going to play?
Thanks, Mr. Alonso, on the question. So basically, let me give some economic data points. I think with the pandemic right now, we have almost 2.7 billion workers around the world affected in different ways. And of which I would say around a billion plus maybe going through a more difficult period right now because they may not be physically be able to join work. And I think earlier Dylan and Imran brought the points about industries making certain cuts. And I mean, it's going to be unusual if somebody says, I'm not going to cut the cost now. Okay, please tell me, I'll buy the shares right away. And that's the one I'm going to come up in a few minutes on. But the most important thing is cuts come in from the form of salaries, cuts come in from hours of work, cuts or days of work, and cuts come in from a form of a freeze and a lot of other things. And of course, definitely Dylan pointed out, I think earlier, we are calling real estate and IT costs as well to contain. Companies are giving reduction on rentals and IT costs, and everything has now been adjusted a little bit. Now, having said that, workers and businesses, right? And these two dynamic points are going to make a lot of shift, a significant shift. And there is now going to be the birth of new technologies, new ideation process that's going to come in, right? Now, if I think earlier you highlighted PICME, I think it's in Sri Lanka. You have Uber and of course Grab, and in Southeast Asia and worldwide, you're seeing a shift in Amazon's way of doing. Now, as soon as the pandemic happened, Amazon announced they're going to hire 100,000 people. So that gives you a huge shift of how things are going to happen. E-commerce, they're going to connect to the SMEs because SMEs cannot have a shop today, right? What do? Small and medium enterprises come online, immediately helping them come online so they can stay in business. Like the food and F&B business, they cannot be physically operating right now, correct? So what do? Delivery. And likewise, in every industry, there's going to be a shift of platform, shift of services, and so on. The next is BPM. BPM is generally physically essential service delivery, right? Now, that's also going to be now working from home with all the technologies, but how many of the organizations allow that? For example, if you're a financial tech organization, you have security of data, cybersecurity, is it sufficient? So opportunity for cybersecurity to pick up, opportunity for banks to evolve, opportunity for BPM to adopt using technology. So imagine all of them are coming together right now. At the same time, everyone utilizing what's functional and driving towards that. Now, BPM, cybersecurity, big data, IoT, e-commerce, cloud. These are the 6 segments of all where there'll be convergence taking place. And this convergence is based on telco. So can you imagine the usage of internet right now? The whole world has jumped 160% usage in the last 30 days. So what was considered to be part of what we normally do for data has got a new definition now. Because without data, you cannot do anything, right? It has become a premium now for the telco business. For tech businesses, across the 6 areas which I just said, there's going to be evolution that's coming in. So quickly, design, develop, and deliver. These 3 areas are going to merge a bit. And this, because of the triple whammy, I call it triple whammy, because oil price has crashed, pandemic is in place, and economic and political issues are going on. So all these 3 are hitting every business now. So, which also means, I think earlier we heard panelists saying about business model. I would add business continuity planning. BCP must be in place for all tech. I mean, tech companies drive that initiative. So maybe tech companies can take the order of business continuity planning and business modeling also as part of things that they can help companies with, right? And you talked about companies that's picking up now. All the online retail, e-commerce companies are hitting through the roofs. If you want to buy the shares, I think now's the time. Because it's picking up every day, it seems, in terms of the cost. And secondly, all the what we call as virtual platforms, which is coming up right now, like the Zoom, Teams, Microsoft Teams, and Google Hangouts. Of course, barring security issues, they have also come up into a very high level thing. So basically, I would say digital readiness, I will conclude there. Digital readiness for professionals on the call, tech professionals. Digital readiness for companies is going to be critical. So I would say digital is the new oil. If you're shifting that industry right now, digital is the new oil. So how you want to move it is up to us on the call, all of us who are attending. We're going to embrace that change, but that shift is going to happen now, because if one industry completely disappears, what's that which helps us move forward with the rest? So I believe tech and digital and BPM is the one which moves forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. I think that's a good sort of insight on the domains that people should be looking at. And also, I believe, I mean, just to add, the BCP side, I think, is crucial, because a lot of the companies never sort of planned for something like this, a pandemic sort of epidemic sort of nature to come in. It's more to do with, physical sort of, damage of property or downtime. This is something that people will have to be looking at from that aspect as well.
That's correct, Alonso. Even insurance firms are struggling now, because that particular area to cover pandemic is now becoming a new opportunity. Of course, some insurance firms have started that service right away.
Yes, so I think Mr. Kuganathan from our insurance provider is here. So
he's smiling.
Yes, he's very happy about it. So yes, moving on to Sharon. So from working from home, like we discussed, video conferencing has now become the new norm. So what does it mean to your employees, and how do they adjust the role?
Sure.
So, you as an organization, HR, actually facilitate this working from home concept?
Yeah. So Alan, just to address, so if you have the technology, process, and the people with the right mindset, working from home can be managed. Nevertheless, responsibility of a company or role of a company at this point is to ensure there is a framework or written guidelines mentioning the expectation, because expectation is important, especially when you're dealing in terms of availability or responsiveness at all times, especially when you're dealing with foreign clients, your availability.
I think you went on mute. Sharon, I think you're on mute, sadly. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Where did I stop? Can I repeat again from the beginning, or?
Yes, please. I mean.
Yes. To start with, working from home can be enabled if you have the right process, technology, and the people with the right mindset. And the role of a company here is ensuring there is a guideline mentioning the expectations or a framework. in terms of availability and responsiveness at all times, especially when we are dealing with foreign clients. Responsiveness is on high priority. Nevertheless, if you don't have this in place, or if you don't have a clear guideline, and if someone is starting new for the industry or fresher, this would be the first experience working from home for that person. So he may not know what is the expectation. To give you an example, when IMBLA started working from home just before the pandemic, during the curfew time, we ensured that we run this process and make awareness with all the teams on the expectation. So it's actually running smoothly for us in terms of the process, because the expectation is already been set. And also, I think a company should have a way of defining the outcome also in terms of getting the deliverables. So since IMBLA is following Scrum Agile, this facilitates the expectation of us. Adding to that, I think people are now working from home, also that we are almost in isolation. Some people are still getting used to this new change. In terms of employee engagement activities, which we were doing at the physical work office, we have transformed it to a virtual activity, just to ensure that people feel connected and they don't miss the physical working environment. So in my perspective, what I see is we only miss the physical work environment. So from home, we are all virtually connected.
Thanks. It's good to have somebody from HR, so we get that insight as well. Moving on to Kugan. So in this time of crisis, how does one actually understand their motivation in the workplace, and how do you create that resilience for somebody who's actually facing this crisis at the moment as an employee?
Good. I won't touch much on the IT side and technology side. I'm sure we have a lot of panelists and experts on the technical side and economic. But in terms of as kind of keep moving ourselves in our workplace is very important at this junction. Because that is a very key point. Like there are a lot of young people out there. Sometimes this is a new challenge, working from homes. As Andheri said, the trust we have to the superiors, they should have the trust on the superiors. So there are a lot of factors is going to impact in their mind. So we have to safeguard our life and navigate this our life and come out the challenges very important at this juncture. So this is all about how to overcome these challenges, because we are the authors of our own life stories. Nobody can rewrite our life. So we are going to write our own life and how we are going to come out and navigate and to see the light other side of the tunnel. That is very important. So what we have to do is at this junction is, first of all, because there is a new shift working from home, and there is a lot of pressure is coming from the family. There's a lot of pressure will come from the working environment, from the peers, friends, the current situations, environment, the news. So a lot of negativities are happening around us now. But we had to overcome this negativity and how we had to come the positivity. That is very important, because for that, our mind should be very, very clear. When our mind is clear only, we can step into other things. If you take the life, we have three components. One is our thoughts, then our feelings, and our behavior. So we have to understand how we are going to keep our thoughts in a very positive environment. When we create a positive environment, we can, the positive vibration can come out. Then when we have the positive vibrations, then there is the positive feelings around us. That is important. Then the behavior. So these has to be a kind of interconnected at this junction to move forward. For example, I always tell my wife or anybody, don't take decisions when you are in the panic situations. That is very important. Not even don't speak to your superior when you're in a panic situation. Don't even speak to your, when you're in angry mode or when you're frustrated, don't even speak to your peers. Never. Just postpone yourself. 5 minutes, half an hour, just postpone. Then when you come out that the storm, the challenges, then think, go inwards and see what I should speak, what I mustn't speak with my friends, with my superior. So this is how you have to do some kind of a training within yourself. For this is very important thing is because these days working from homes, sometimes we like to go to sleep very early, watching the movies. We have changed our life patterns, but there is a negative impact also, because when you go to sleep so late night and getting up, it is not advisable. We should do our normal work today, normal lifestyle. We should go early, get up early. As soon as you get up early, my personal advice, even I am practicing, as soon as I get up, go where see openness. Go to the sky where you can see your sky, because we can go out these days. So we are under lockdown. So best is opportunities come out, spend at least 10 to 15 yourself with only yourself. So don't switch on your mobile or don't switch on your paper, don't switch on, because the mind is very important in this morning. So you had to give a lot of positive food to your mind in the morning. Very important thing is positive mind. So for that, you have to go inside and inward journey, come out. 10 minutes is more than enough to what is my passion? What is my purpose of this life? Have these questions, and how I'm going to do this today's work, how I'm going to contribute myself towards my employer, with my friends, with my leaders, with my superiors. And you have to think something very positive. And this is the ideal opportunities, how you can help your employer. If you are working in one of the organization, how you are going to cope up with the KPIs of this employer. As Dylan said, how you are going to contribute cost reductions. Okay, and how you are going to contribute, come out, because you are in the IT professional. As Anthony said, this is the new oil. We are talking about the data, we are talking about digitalization. There's a lot of opportunities has been created at this moment. So think how each one of you can contribute towards that, this journey of digitalization. You're taking your company to the next level. See the opportunities. Think. For that, your mind should be absolutely clear in this morning. So keep the morning very carefully and come up with a lot of creative ideas, new thinking, read something new, so that, and understand the problem and how you can resolve these problems with your employer, if you are working in an employer. And if you are working as a software engineer or software engineer in one of the things, how you can address your client in a better way, and how you can bring, if you are working for you are a client, you are giving a solution to the bank, how to make a digitalizations more effective, more convenience. So you have to think in all aspects and come up with the new ideas, and have a meeting and come up with the new ideas, the creativity things where it can address the KPI of the companies. Very important thing is the cost reductions, the effectiveness, the process improvement, technology improvement, how you can bring it. And understand the current situations now. The COVID won't be there for next 2 or 3 months, it will be the impact will be there. But after that, there will be a lot of economic recessions also going to happen. So how you are ready, your company is ready, your client is ready. Think about that. Plan with your team. And now itself, you make a process and the digitalization system ready to address the what your stakeholders want going forward. So that is how we have to make. So start with yourself every day in the morning.
Thanks, Kugan. I think that was very important in terms of not just the business side of it, but your self-development as well. So I've just got news that we have over 65 online members on the webinar itself, and we have another 25 on Facebook. So that's quite a number that we have gathered today. So I just thought we'll take a few questions from the audience, because I can see a couple of questions coming up on screen. So let's just take a few before moving on to the next rounds. We have a question for Mr. Imran Furkan from Ms. Tilina Gunawardana. So his question is, USA is the leading country in the world in terms of digital competitiveness. As per the IMD World Digital Competitiveness Rankings of 2018, However, their unemployment is more than 20 million due to the COVID issue. What exactly is the underlying reason for this?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question, Tilina. Two aspects to this. Number one is the US workforce is 164.6 million with a total population of over 330 million people, right? So 20 million being unemployed is not a huge number comparatively for a crisis of this size, number one. Number two, the number of people who've been, filed for unemployment insurance are people who are in the industry that have been directly impacted. So you're looking at hospitality people who've been let go, people who work in cafes, airlines, industries that have been directly affected. They have been either furloughed, which means they are still on the payroll, but they are not really working, and therefore they're not getting really payments and so on. So what they have done is they've immediately gone and filed for unemployment benefit. This may not be a permanent situation, right? It goes on monthly basis. So even your payment is a monthly basis, right? So the moment you are back in full-time employment and you're getting your money, they will go back. So that is the immediate explanation for that, right? But there's another explanation for that. I don't agree with that ranking that you're talking about, right? I have no idea who has made that ranking, because there are ads today asking for COBOL developers, right? For the US, and they're willing to pay anything for that, because a lot of their systems are so old, right, running on ancient languages. So I think that ranking has something to do with something else that they're looking at, and maybe whoever has made that ranking. Definitely the US is not as a detailed competitiveness, not really as high there as you would think. And I have many friends working in many industries in very senior positions who are appalled at the amount of use of technology. So I think the quick answer to that question is, they are in directly affected industries, but actually longer term impact is really, they are not really digitized as much as they should be. It's all fake. What you see on, we have a handful of outliers, right? Who are really great digital players. Everybody else is in very immature, very old technologies. It's just that Hollywood makes them look very good.
Yes, thanks, Imran. I just also saw that post on the COBOL developers. I was just thinking, if we still remember those structured COBOL skills that we had from those days, we could have applied for those jobs. So just moving on to another question. I'm going to open this up to the entire panel. This question is from Mr. Varuna Dhanapala. Not only internet, intranets too would be required to ensure security and exclusivity. Are our telcos ready to meet the growing demand for this data and services? So, who would like to take this up? I think we touched on the telcos, how they're going to increase their bandwidth and how they're going to, sort of address this capacity. So, maybe.
Yeah, I think let me add something to it. Yeah, I'm like it's a very crucial point which Varun has raised here. Because right now, when you are working from home, that is one of the major limitations we have, because connectivity, it's crucial, right? Because now I have my team working from like almost everywhere in the country, like from down south, Trincomalee, Cadley, so they are everywhere, right? But the major difficulty we have right now is certain people are struggling with the connectivity. It's not, like cost is one thing, but that of course we can somehow bear it, because we are saving money from not traveling to the office. So there's a saving which we can invest on the connectivity. But then again, there's nothing much we can do. If the connectivity is bad in your area, there are very limited options we have right now. So it is crucial that the telcos need to look into this. But I don't know whether we have any panelists representing any telcos here right now, but this is a big opportunity for them as well, because there'll be more and more people now connecting to IT services, like devices will be more connected. So with that, there'll be a major demand for a more reliable connectivity. So I believe this is something which we need to immediately look into. Otherwise, all these work from home concepts, new ideas, we are coming up with new systems, maybe e-commerce, e-health, digital banking, all these things would heavily rely on a proper connectivity. So I'll let others also add their thoughts to this.
Yeah, let me just add something very, very quickly, Alan, if you don't mind. See, I've looked at some of the announcements made by some of the telco operators and the agreements that they have signed with the Board of Investments and so on. So I think there is some intention to invest, particularly around 5G in Sri Lanka. It's just that it takes a bit of time from signing agreements to putting out the infrastructure and then making it operational. I think the operators understand the requirement, what they need to do. And I think because one thing I've noticed very interestingly, I haven't seen any of the operators declare publicly at least any salary cuts, which means they're doing extremely well, in terms of financially, during this period. But also you need to also understand that they have been also giving free and bonus data and so on. So that might have also clogged the network, which I am completely. And I thought that should have been considered a little bit more carefully, because then you would, consider how you utilize bandwidth and so on. But I think the operators are looking at that. And one good thing about Sri Lanka and also South Asia to that extent, India and Sri Lanka particularly, is that we have not been having this big debate around should we have Huawei, are we not going to have Huawei, that the West is having, right? They're tearing themselves apart, deciding on who they are going to take as their partner. I think we have decided, some operators have decided they're going with Ericsson, others are going with their traditional partner Huawei. So we are lucky in that we are not wasting time on that debate, right? If we all are wasting time, that is around implementation, which is anyway going to take some time. But I think we will have this ready under control by maybe end 2021, possibly, because there is some time to implement. That's my thoughts.
Maybe Alonso, my side, I just wanted to add, my previous life was in telco. So just a comment on that. And so basically from the region, Southeast Asia as well, I would say that there's a huge demand for data. I would say data, access to data and broadband. And I think broadband is probably what is helping people work from home more effectively now. But let's not forget mobile data. All right, so which doesn't require a lot of infrastructure, because almost everyone has got one or two devices in their hand, either the tab or the notebook or the mobile smartphone, right? So I think most telcos are going through a lot of pressure right now, to be honest, in terms of meeting the demands, given the growth or usage rate has gone probably triple the rating right now. So generally they are conserving bandwidth for different industries. Of course, primary core industries, healthcare and so on, then education and so on, and then additional usage for other areas, right? So how they use that data during this point of time to share across the pipe for users, right, is going to make a big difference. And they have the power. And one of the things I believe we should always encourage is try to ensure that for healthcare and for education, it's given free. So you know where I'm coming from, right? So access to this right now makes a big difference. Rather than a short-term activity, any form of broadband or data access to the healthcare industry, especially the frontline and others, and hospital institutions, and as well as all education institutions, in a way which allows students or medical practitioners to be able to access that. So I know it's not directly answering the question, but I wanted to make sure that I give a perspective that can help the decision makers out there.
Thanks, Anthony. Anthony, there's one other question also, I think, directed at you from Mr. Wajid. Could I just read out to you? This is to do with the tourism sector. I think Malaysia and Sri Lanka also share common sort of grounds in terms of the tourist industry and its effect after the COVID-19. So the question is, how could we address the current situation in the affected businesses such as tourism? And the work from home concept for them is not advisable unless it is for the back office. So how do we actually deal with that? So just before you go into the answer, I would also like to say, like, in terms of, I mean, you're right in terms of certain industries having been adversely affected, but do the employees of these who have been useful, for example, a chef or a front office manager, does he need to reskill himself, or is there something else that he could do within the domain itself? So Anthony, maybe you could take that since it's addressed. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the question. And I must ensure my heart reaches out to all the tourism industry, because technically they are the first face of every country. If you really see, they are the ones who welcome you at the airport, from the flight, and making sure you are in the hotel, and making sure you are having a good experience if you're visiting the country, both within the country as well as for visitors into any country, right? And they are the most affected worldwide right now. All right. Probably connected to the aviation industry and others, because once you hit it, then it becomes a huge impact. Now, maybe to address it from a perspective of careers, and of course, business is one and career is one. From a career perspective, I look at this point of time that your business is about facing people, interface with people, and so on. So this is going to be a very difficult time, as no travel is allowed during this period of time. No visitors are coming. However, countries are now becoming a bit more open, depending on the current state of the pandemic, to allow local travel. That means within, for example, Malaysia, or within, like recently, Malaysia will be commencing local travel. So that means visiting local places. Just allow people to have some flexibility with conditions attached to it. And I believe it could be the same with other countries, because they are following the World Health Organization protocol. So not between countries, but in the country and in your zone where you have better control, that you're allowing that to happen. So that's going to be a knowledge experience for those tourism where employees who can repurpose their skills, or technically they call it rebadging skills, or repurposing their skills, and helping them become more aware of contributing to that segment. So if they were contributing to foreign segment, they could be now contributing to local segment and supporting them. Now, F&B side, I think you touched on one thing. I must tell you something interesting is happening around the world. For those who have physical facilities, and if you are a chef in a kitchen, and if you are part of a restaurant, now the role is now being shifted to having what's called cloud kitchens. I think you might be familiar with this happening around the world. So whatever this cannot happen by yourself, because if you are going to, it's going to be very expensive to set up the centralized kitchen and run it, right? But if you are a collective group of restaurants and network, and if you can come onto a platform that can have cloud kitchens, imagine that entire aspect of restaurants cannot run anymore physically is now going to be shifted on cloud restaurants, right? So you can deliver whatever fine dining you are looking for, or tasty food. I know generally Sri Lanka and Malaysia are foodie culture, so we enjoy food. So it's something you can't avoid. But imagine that need is still going to be there even during this restricted period, correct? So if all the kitchens of the restaurants think about putting this together and make an affordable way of distributing the food through any one of the Uber Eats or others, and of course there could be many, many more, then you create a channel of business and employability for this group of people. It's just shifting your ocular from where you are to where you need to be, from a tourism industry or from an F&B industry. How do you make that shift using, and I'm coming back to the digital technology and repurposing of skills that can help you make that shift happen. Hope it's answering the question. However, I do not come from the tourism industry. But I do understand what is technology enabling employers of that industry, and how it's enabling the employees as well to make that shift.
Thanks, Anthony. I would like to ask a question from Sharon as well. This is mainly for our YPG members and students who are entering the workforce and looking for a career in IT. What will be the changes that would probably take place post COVID-19? And what would be the way forward for these young IT professionals who are probably at the moment just studying and looking at job opportunities within the industry itself?
Yeah, changes, I think even during a pandemic or not, changes are always out there. So it's all about how we adapt to the changes. During this time, especially if it's a student or a professional who is waiting to get into the industry, I think we all have the ample time whilst working from home, because we don't have a commute time. So what I advise is go out there. If you don't have a blog, start blogging. You have to build your resume, you have to build your profile right now. And also there are free webinars out there. You can learn something. I personally go attend. because I have that flexibility to do that. So you can learn something out there. And also there are online courses that you can get involved. So you can always invest and use this opportunity to invest on your development, because I'm sure as a going forward, when just after the pandemic is set and when we're right back in the normal environment, I think the next question from a interview perspective, or I would say from HR perspective also, there would be questions raised asking, okay, what have you done during a pandemic? What are your learnings? How did you keep yourself up to date about technology? What have you done? This is not to find out what you've been doing. This is exactly to know what people, what they can, how they can invest their time when they have it available. Because what happens is when we have too much of time, sometimes we tend to relax a bit. I think now the time is, there is more and enough and more time that we can utilize to invest on our careers. So I think my advice is to ensure that you invest that time, taking the opportunity. Adding to that, if you ask me the question, okay, will the careers be affected? I would say no, because currently at EMBLA, we have scheduled reviews in terms of career progression that we have already planned, which is taking place as scheduled online. So there is no such changes in terms of anyone is not getting promoted. So as planned, this is happening. And also performance reviews are taking place as scheduled. So everything as planned is going. It's just a little bit of a process change that we have done to accommodate the current changes.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah. So I would like to turn to our mental guru. So can you give us some advice on self-strategic planning in these times of crisis? How to prepare ourselves mentally, and what is your strategy in that sense?
Thanks. It's like, since I work with a lot of university students on their career developments, and because from the BCS, we do a lot of the activities from the university students and with the young professionals, especially on the National Best Quality Software Awards. You heard that is a best software awards in Sri Lanka we conduct, and we bring the from the school level, from the university level, and to the industry, to the government sectors. We conduct these programs, and this is going to happen in October. We are going that. That is the challenge that we took it. Like, we are going it with that, and we are moving it. So what the importance is how to prepare yourself at this junction, like about your work, about your whatever you're doing, is very important. Is to, like, every company, like every year or once in 3 years, we do like a strategic planning. Okay, we do. That is to keep ourselves ahead of the competitors, to see the profitability, and we are cost. So this is to work around the KPIs of the companies. So what we had to do is we had to do the same thing. It's called strategic planning for ourselves, because we had to align ourselves, our self-alignment with the employer and with the stakeholders is very important. So you have to do this once, at least once a year to yourself. So I will advise always take 3 white papers, and one is to do a kind of a y-axis and x-axis. You draw your life desires very quickly, like on y-axis your desires and how many years. If you are 25 years young starting the job, so for a 2 years gap, what is my desire in my life? Just a quick one. Just put a draws here and there. Then very important thing is, as an employer, your skills, your education skills. What is my plan of educational growth? I'm going to do my BSc, I'm going to do my master's, I'm going to do this, put it that. And what is the third white paper is on your life. Okay, what is my life understanding? Or when I'm going to have, my plan is to have the build a house, the marriage, when I'm going to start my love, everything you put it in a very things. And see, bring all 3 papers into your springboard and the whiteboard and see, are there any mismatch and how we can do it here and there. So that if you can bring your your life desires, your skills, the educational desires, and your life skills, life desires, all in 3 components, your life will go smoothly. But at this junction, there will be some kind of tweaks, some kind of challenges will come, of course. For example, we at the Janshakti Insurance, we did our 3 years plan, and we did our plan for this year as well. But suddenly we never expect this COVID-19 is going to come. But what we have done is, as Anthony pointed out, we did a tweaks in the way of operating, the digital, the way of operating which channels our sales staff to do digital. So it's a quick turnaround, and it's happy to say like our entire process, everything is we are doing at 100% from the back end work from home. So it is a quick win how we are going to do that. So how we are going to do the self-strategic is very important. As I say, the life is always the journey. So plan your journey. So develop possibilities of many different routes. So sometimes when you can't go in one route, have a different route. And how I'm going to determine how much effort I'm going to put, planning, very important, learning and self-development. Have these components in one paper. What is my planning? What I'm going to learn? And what is my self-development going to? Because, for example, if you're working in the IT industry, sometimes there is a demand. If I want to become the BA to the project manager, I should improve my communication skills. I should improve my English communication skills. So you plan for that. How I'm going to improve yourself. Very important as a young professionals, plan. Okay, next 3 months, I am going to improve my communication skills. I am going to spend 2 hours of studying everything. So have that journey first. Okay, spend some time. Then where are you now? You must understand your weakness. And because sometimes our ego won't allow us to go inside. That is a very important thing, because everybody thinks I am the best. Every girls in this planet, they think they are the queen, Miss World. Am I right, Sharon? Everybody thinks. But once they come into the stage, there's a judging process is there. Then only they are judges. So we have to be in the judging process. The judging process is have a chat with your superiors. Okay, very important thing is have a chat with your superiors, have a chat with your friends, have a chat with your peers, where I should improve myself. That is very important. When you're doing the performance management also, we should ask. I ask when I'm doing the performance appraisal with my people, I ask, first question is rather than what I should improve myself first. I get the ideas from them. Even the small child tell me, okay, you should do that. My son always tell, Dada, you should be precise what you are saying. I learn from that because he's very precise whenever he speaks. So I learn from that. So these are things. So we can learn a lot of things from the kids and my peers and myself. Always have that learning ability is very important. For that, we should go away from this ego. That is very important in our life. So where you are now and understand your current skill and experience you have and understand how grow your job and develop where you are and improve your organizational awareness. So you have to be aligned yourself with the organizational awareness. Otherwise, you go in one direction, organization goes in different direction, won't go. So have that, understand the business, understand the operations, understand the human factor, HR, and work towards that to make sure that you are achieving your goal. And where do you want to go? Next question is, how you visualize yourself. So normally it's like these days, like there are a lot of, we call like ARV technologies there. You put that particular gadget, you visualize. Like that, you visualize yourself in 1 year time, where you want to be, 2 years time, 5 years time, 6 years time, where do you want to be? So align yourself towards that. And planning your route, very important. A very important thing is like a learning experience is very important, and how to achieve your goals. And so for this, your skills and your qualifications and training. Sometimes you have to speak to your HR department and ask, what are the trainings I need to go to the next level, so that they can. So later new technologies are new. programming languages, where do you want to, and learning about the digitalization. So different aspect. Don't have one angle and have the overall angle so that you can plug yourself wherever the organization you want. So that is very important. And very important thing is plan your development. And first is test yourself. Normally in our life, we do like UAT testing and SIT testing. Before you move on to the next level, do a self-test before you go into the next level of your promotions. Okay, then you can sustain yourself. So, and very important thing, setting your priorities. So rather than your own, very effective and self-management is very important to clear focus on your priorities at works. So you have the very right things rather than just doing the right thing at the right time. So set your priorities. I'm sure you will see a very healthy life and wellness in your mind. So when you have the wellness in your mind, everything goes very smoothly in your life, and see that a life-changing self within yourself.
Thanks, Gwen. We're going to take another question from the audience. The question is from Ransit, and the question is, what are the career paths that could be lost in the IT sector? And what are the new career paths that could be generated in IT due to the pandemic? Now, I know there's a lot of e-commerce sites that are doing a lot of activity. They need, a scalable platform because the current platform is not sufficient to cater to the capacity. We also have fintechs that are doing payment gateways. There's a lot of transactions that are coming in the system. So in that area, we can see a lot of new sort of IT sectors areas being developed. Also, I was just thinking yesterday, I got a call from one of my friends who's doing private tuition for students. And now he wants to do it online, and he does it on Zoom. So he's asking, how can I get a payment? I don't have a website. How do I facilitate that? Do I need to go and register as a merchant with one of the service providers? How do I do that? I'm just sitting at home at the moment, and I need to validate who's coming in for my classes. So there are so many opportunities that come in. So would somebody like to take up that question in terms of what are the new opportunities within the IT industry itself? Maybe Dylan would want to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, then you're correct. There are so many new opportunities popping up with this pandemic. If you look at what are our immediate needs right now, when you're at home, it's mainly food, health, and connectivity, right? So these are the most important ones for us right now. So with that, there could be so many new solutions coming up. As you said, the delivery, right? There should be a proper delivery model along with the e-commerce systems. I believe e-commerce systems, the software, is good enough right now. There is no magic in it. We have brilliant e-commerce solutions worldwide. Even Sri Lanka, it's really good e-commerce solutions are there. But what I see is the way we use it. That has to change, because even right now, as I speak to you right now, I made a delivery order to one of the biggest supermarkets in Sri Lanka, and last evening they sent me an email saying that your order has been delivered and my name and my address, but I have not still got it. Right. So at any time I'd be getting a call right now from the delivery person, and if I get that call, I need to answer that, because if I miss that call, I won't be able to contact him again. Right. So this is where the problem is. In our country, we have so many opportunities, but we are not giving an all around full solution. So IT can do a major part creating that solution, giving the necessary infrastructure, but what we lack is coordinating it and having a proper system, like having proper processors, having people who are well aware of the process to take it forward. So if we can get through that, there'll be lots of opportunities. So as I started saying, so food, health, these areas would have huge opportunities. And then again, shared services like Uber and PickMe. So there's an opportunity, right? What we need to do is not to create another Uber or another PickMe, but let's think how we do it different. right? Because even before the pandemic, we had so many taxi services, right? I don't know. There are lots of taxi services and most were struggling because everyone is trying to follow the same model. But now let's be creative, because this is the time the startups can do something new. Because what do we do in startups? What do we do as part of innovation? Innovation is answering, like giving solutions to problems, right? So right now we have enough problems to give solutions. So this is why I think it's the best time for the IT industry. So this relate to one of the questions raised in the Q&A as well, because someone is asking how can we say that we are lucky to be the IT industry. He says it's as employees we are lucky, but are the employers also lucky? So yes, my answer is yes, because IT industry employers are luckier than the other industry employers, because right now we have more opportunities. If you think right, if you stick to your own previous models, then you won't be so lucky. So you need to capitalize these opportunities which we have, like as I said, the shared services, deliveries, and digitized services like e-banking, e-health. I would use these services even in a normal day, because I don't like to travel. It's a hassle for us, right? Going to the bank. I never want to go to the bank. I always try to do digital banking. But luckily what has happened now is we are forced to use it. Even banks, I categorize bank. Luckily, no one from the banks in the panel. I see banks as like close entities, close industries, right? Because they are very much close. They are not open to the technology. I'm not saying in a negative way, but that's the way they used to work, right? You always need to go to the bank to do something. You have to sign lots of papers. But right now, whether they like it or not, they have been pushed to use digital banking. Now they are actively promoting digital banking. They are giving free services. They are making people start using credit cards and debit cards. So that's good. That's a big opportunity, right? So whether people like it or not, now people are using it. Even people who have never thought of doing an online order are forced to do it. So that makes them less afraid of using these technologies, which is a good sign for us, which is a good opportunity for us. Now we can capitalize on that, because more and more people are thinking about this. So even after the COVID crisis, I'm very much happy if I can just go to a website and order stuff, and if it comes to my home, that would be great. So these are the opportunities we can capitalize.
Yeah. Thanks, Dylan. I think you covered also the banking question from one of our webinar participants, Narmada, as well. Just to add to what you said in terms of the new industries, one thing I see is the education side of it. I mean, there's a lot of schools, institutes who are actually looking at a proper platform to have their sort of classes, their online domain. So that is one huge area that people could look at. And not only just the platform, you could also look at the predictiveness, because a lot of the exams, even if you look at the Cambridge, O-levels, A-levels, IELTS, all these examinations are unable to conduct the exams physically. So therefore, what they are doing is they are doing some sort of mechanism to predict a student's results. So if we look at the analytics side of it, predictive analytics, that is something, because the results that are going to come out for this year's A-level, for example, Cambridge A-level is going to be predicted results based on past performance. So that is another area. I mean, if you look at it from that dimension as well. I think we are running short of time, but I would like to take one more question from Mr. Imran, because I think something very relevant to our YPG members and students, because a lot of the students are actually planning to go overseas for studies, or at the moment they are thinking of migrating overseas and they already have these qualifications. So getting a job as a migrant is going to be very tough in a normal circumstance. But now with this COVID-19, within the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to be a huge issue for students and our members trying to migrate. So what sort of advice you would give to a sort of migrant from Sri Lanka looking at going in there to the IT industry? Sitting out of Australia and experience with worldwide exposure as well, I think you would be ideal to sort of address that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I'll get to that in 1 second, but I have a couple of points I want to talk about for each one of them, and I'll quickly do that. Anthony, you said about cloud kitchens, and you know that Travis Kalanick, the co-founder of Uber, once he sold off his entire stake, almost the entire stake in Uber, the first thing that he did was put a lot of money in cloud kitchens, right? So that's a very, very important point. And to something else that Shan was saying, look, I've been talking to a lot of head of HRs in IT companies the last few days, right? And they have been telling me that they're doing this whole, evaluations, promotions, etc., online, and they're doing it. They're super busy doing that. So I think that is going to happen as well. And also, there was another quick question on logistics which I wanted to answer as well, because Dilan was talking about his order. I've got an order from a supermarket. Before the order came, I got a email saying, look, some of the items we have is not there, and here we're going to refund you. So my question was, why did you let me order if you didn't have the items? So you can see that while there is an e-commerce store online, there is no connection between your inventory, your e-commerce store, your payment gateway, etc., etc. So to have that connection, so I think there's a lot that can happen in logistics, and that connection is what's going to happen in logistics. And in China, they've been using a lot of IoT devices and drones and etc. to deliver during Wuhan lockdown. So I think logistics is very exciting, because I saw that question. I really want to answer that. If you're migrating, look, number one way you're going to get jobs is through connections. Okay, so I know a lot of people who've gone from Sri Lanka to Australia or Canada, and they have got jobs in this similar industry to what they were working in. So, for example, a lot of people working in capital markets who've gone to Australia and got jobs through friends in capital markets, making the same kind of software. So the key thing is to kind of work on your networks. Number one. Number two is, in developed countries, a lot of CVs are scanned by automated tracking systems. So learn how to position your CV for an automatic tracking system. There's plenty of resources online, right? People who write your CV, you can pay. If you don't want to pay, you can just go online and check it out. So I think the key thing is to understand how recruitment happens in those countries. And the third point I want to make you understand also is that once you get a role, what happens to a lot of people is they stay in silos. So they only network with people they know already from back home or in the industry that they're working in. They don't network across different industries. And if there is a recession or depression like today, your networks are only either from people back home or your own country, and also your industry. And that's where you get caught as well. So that's the quick point I want to say about trying to get a job once you migrate. There is going to be jobs. It's just a matter of how you position yourself, how you position a CV for the automatic tracking system, plus the connections you use to get it forwarded up front as well.
Thanks, Imran. I think we're almost up with time. So to wind up, I would like to get a quick round of closing remarks from all our panelists. Maybe either a closing statement or something that you found within the course of conversation that you want to really tell out. So a quick round. Shall we start with Dilan?
Before coming into my closing remarks, let me add to what Sharon has been saying about from the HR point of view, how people should be ready. So another thing, because we have a young group of people who are listening to us. So you have to, we expect some changes in the working behavior as well, especially when we are working from home. There's a very much less supervision. I think I've seen some question as well regarding the supervision, right? So there's very little supervision. There's no one to check what you are doing. So we have to change the way we work. I'm like, to starting with, we have to focus on the task rather than the time, because the people would say that I have worked 8 hours today, but it's not relevant. We don't know what they're doing for 8 hours. Rather, we have to say, this is what you have done today, with the expected quality of the work which they are doing, right? So that to do that, I'm like, it's not easy, especially for the younger people who are just entering into the industry. You have to have very much discipline in the way you work, because you can easily get distracted. In an office situation, in the office environment, we have some sort of a control environment where people are less distracted, right? But at home, you can easily get distracted, right? With you have the phone, you have social media, and you have might have others around the home, your neighbors, dogs barking, everything is there, right? So with that, you can easily distract it. So that is something you have to practice, like how to stay focused on your work, especially in a work from home environment. And also you have to be on your own. You are independent, because I call this babysitting, right? In the office we can babysit, but here when you're at home you can't. I'm like, you are on your own. If needed, you have to do the project. Like say you are a developer, you're a software engineer, but you might have to do a little bit of QA, little bit of project management. You might need to talk to the client, because these things, everything you have to buy by yourself. So this is another skill which we expect. I'm like, otherwise this is where we'll fail. If you think that work from home is the same way you have done in the office, it is not. These special skills need to be adapted to make your life easy. Yeah, so to wrap it up, all I have to say about the whole situation is, think of it is like this way. I'm like, if your computer is running slow, if your phone is running slow, what do we do? The first thing we do is restart our device, right? So at the restart, there would be, obviously in a Windows computer, you would know that there will be so many updates running and it's fresh, it's new, right? So the same thing is happening to the world. The world is rebooting now. So it's still in the process. It's still not done with the reboot. So once it's rebooted, we have to work in a fresh world. So if we follow the same things which we have been doing earlier as well, again it will get stuck. It will slow down. So with this new world, let's start thinking in a new way. We might have to delete some of our old applications which are not working properly, and we might have to install new applications. So likewise, we might have to change our behavior, change the way we do businesses, change the way we do our work, and think different. And let's get ready for this new world. If you are ready, then we will not fail. Let's look at the positive side of it. I'm like, let's not focus on the negativity. There's so much negativity around, but let's see the positive side of it. And you guys, the younger crowd, you can always be ready for this when we are ready to go full steam ahead.
Thanks, Ilan. Over to you, Mr. Anthony.
Hi, Alonso. Okay, just from a wrap-up perspective, I started off with the word of trust. When I said trust is equivalent to transparency plus relationship plus experience. I think this is going to be inevitable now. And there's going to be a lot of flexibility that needs to be done, where some people are not used to 100% working from home. And many are maybe used to it, but cannot thrive on it too long, right? And imagine if it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, what's going to happen? Just, you have to foresee all this from an HR perspective, people perspective. Let's stay connected on that. Be flexible, be understanding to those who are at home, and don't impose things that can put pressure, and vice versa, right? The aspect that I would like to touch on is emotional and social support and intelligence. I think it's going to be very, very important. They call it SEL, social and emotional learning. At this point of time, given all the technology, given all the access, given all the things that's happening around the world, families and employees and workers are at a different level of stress. So as business or HR leaders, I think it's important for us to make sure that we keep in mind the social and the emotional aspect of what's going on in their minds, and also be that person to reach out to them first before them asking you. All right, so this will make a big difference in whichever industry you are, including technology. And then the third aspect, as I indicated earlier, there's going to be a big shift in, and I called it, of course, the new oil. Digital will be the new oil. And the aspect of that shift will take a lot of creativity. And I think innovation has to be there. And this team on the call and everyone, I think it's a call, clarion call, for you to see how you would be able to embrace that interface between cybersecurity or big data or IoT or e-commerce or cloud, and not forgetting business process management as well, that you can bridge it together. So look at convergence, look at innovation, and look at the startup. And I remember I visited Kawasaki facility of Amazon in Japan last year. And I must fondly remember that it was a good experience of going through robotics automation with one person running almost an entire shift for the entire day. So that was visible to me. I saw it happen. And likewise, automation, artificial intelligence, all of these things can help you innovate. And for that, collective knowledge is important. You need to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and then use that to make things happen from a society point of view, as well as from a family point of view. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Mr. Kugan?
Very important thing is, since I'm coming from the financial industry of the banking and insurance, there's a lot of opportunities, as Dylan said, in the rebooting. There are a lot of opportunities in the digitalizations. Very important thing is on the proactive digitalization. So make sure that you are all the digitalization is a proactive, where it is become a customer convenience. Before customer asks or find out, you be proactive. Then there is a more demand for that applications going forward. I'm sure there are a lot of young professionals, software developers are there. Now you change your thinking and everything, how you are going to be proactive in the digitalization process, especially in the finance and all the insurance industry, banking, how you are going to be that. So there are a lot of opportunities in that era of the digitalization aspect, and understand the industry first, where you are currently working, and how you can able to go beyond the industry is very important. Don't stick to one industry now. So go beyond that, and how you can bring a lot of value additions to give a full life cycle stacks to the customers. It's very important. Not to give only one, but give other things also. So like a Google page is very simple, but you can do everything through that. So your digitalization aspect should be like that. Very simple, how you're going to be a proactive to the customers end. So there's a lot of opportunities, friends, on that. So you can use your AI technologies and big data and like a lot of things like proactive things, predictive analysis, as you said. So there are a lot of opportunities where we can utilize. This is that you have a lot of time at home. You're working from home. You can spend your time, read a lot, and what are the new technology you can do so that you can come up. You are ready when the world is ready, because once the world is start reboot, you don't have time to learn. Now is the time when you're at home, learn, practice. So that is very important. So now you are when you are at this juncture of time, appreciate yourself, appreciate others around you. You are a traveler within yourself. Keep moving.
Thanks, Kugan. So I think without too much of social media interaction, I think it's good to learn some new learnings. That's thoughts from Kugan. Sharon, over to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll quickly wrap up. So I think with the questions that was raised, I think it's all about the uncertainty that we're dealing. So because we don't know what's going to happen next. For example, we don't know if the curfew will be lifted or not, or will be reimposed. We don't know. So, and also the changes I mentioned at the first question itself when we start off the panel, the changes we have done is with the learnings what we had. So we also may fail, I think, as a company or as an individual. It's about the learning process that we are going to have right now. So I think what works for me as a company may not work for your organization or as an individual. So you need to see what are the best practices along the way and see how you can adjust to the changes that is taking place and make sure that you adjust with the best practices, which is working for you as a professional or as an organization. Yeah.
Thanks, Sharon. Mr. Imran?
Yeah, hi. Look, there is never better time to be alive, right? You didn't create the crisis unless you're, not social distancing and not washing your hands. You're not contributing to the crisis, but you're part of the solution, and that is critical. And I'll give you a very quick example that proves that, right? There's a Sri Lankan IT company that has a solution for airlines, right? Had big projects all put on hold, not cancel, put on hold, right? And they're very worried. And and they also have another product which allows you to virtually try on garments, okay, in stores, a retail product. And it's pretty obvious that consumers are not going to go out to changing rooms and spend a lot of time in retail for a long time, physical retail, right, till they get more comfortable. So I was telling the CEO, look, have this great product. Why don't you go out there and market that to consumers around the world? And he's doing that, and that they're getting a lot of interest in that. Then in addition to that, their existing product, which they needed to pivot, right? So now airlines are going to come back and they're going to look at how are we going to see people in a healthy manner, right? So he has, they have this product that can look at your temperature. You can look at a lot of things. I said, look, repurpose this product into something, that can serve the new normal in your industry. And one final aspect that I want to really, really stress is no industry is going to be bereft of opportunities for IT professionals, right? I hear this talk about, this industry is down, that industry. No industry is not going to be open for you to reimagine it, right? Whether it is aviation, whether it is education, whether it is retail, right? It's just that the mindset has to change because it's not it's a new normal, right? And I have seen so much of our IT BPM industry. There was a question I want to answer that, what is the future? How are we going to contribute to Sri Lanka's economic growth, right? Sharon and I have worked on a lot of these committees, and I'm sure Dilan is now already working on those committees, right? Look, we are looking at $5 billion, right, in export revenue from about $1 billion that we have now. Is that possible? Before this crisis, I'd say it would have taken another 5 years. Today, I can tell you it's easily possible in the next 2 to 3 years. If we market the country properly, the kind of resources we have and the kind of people we have, it is absolutely possible. And I think there are companies that are agile that are already doing that. So I think, the future for Sri Lanka is very, very bright, and you're going to play a very important part of it. And we are going to also work with other countries. We're having a webinar today in the evening, right, about Malaysia and Sri Lanka, two parties that, we know about. They're connecting. We're looking at countries similar size, similar, in terms of population and so on. So I think it's a really, really exciting time to be alive, and you didn't contribute to this crisis, so don't feel bad at all about being part of the solution. Thank you.
Thanks, Sigmund. I think that's great feedback in terms of the industry we're in, and so many opportunities out there. Just a matter of looking at those opportunities and taking them and embracing the change that comes to us.
Alan, one more thing is just a small thing is like from the BCS, we have started a new category called from the COVID-19, what are the new innovations you have created with the ICT products and services. So we are conducting this National Best Quality Software Awards. So one of the categories, like with the COVID-19, there are a lot of innovations, there are a lot of new ideas has come up. So please give your ideas and your solutions, and you can be a winner going forward. So there are a lot of young developers and young companies, startups are there. So please participate in this National Best Quality Software Awards and see where you are pitching yourself and come up with a lot of new ideas. So that is one of the things from the BCS organizing group. Over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Gogan. I think, yes, that's a very good point that you brought up on the Best Quality Software Awards. And I think this is the ideal opportunity for new startups, for students to come out with their new innovations, their new products that are going to come out. I think this year we're going to see a lot of that coming in, as opposed to traditional software that is available in the market itself. So I think we are out of time. We have overrun time also, but it's no problem. I think we had a really good conversation and a great feedback from our panel as well. So on behalf of BCF Sri Lanka section and myself, I would like to thank all of you panelists who have shared your invaluable expert insights and contributed to this session today. I would also like to thank the young professional group from BCS who actually initiated this entire webinar, and especially Dr. Lasit from our BCS Exco, who actually was the man behind organizing the entire session, and he reached out to all of you all and got everybody on board for this session itself. So thanks, Lasit. And very special thanks to Mr. Duminda and Chandana from our event managers, TIIKM Conferences, for the excellent work who facilitated this and coordinated this webinar and synchronized everything with us yesterday for a trial run as well. And finally, to all our YPG members and all the other participants who came in here and actually asked questions and watched this from either the webinar or from Facebook as well. I think we had over 100 registrations yesterday, and it was stop registrations, and today itself we had so many on the call as well as on Facebook as well. So I trust today given all our participants a clear understanding on how you could navigate your career in this time of crisis. And I think it was a great discussion that we all had. Thank you, everybody. And I also want to say just for that we also plan to have more of these webinars in future as well from YPG as well as from BCS. So thank you once again for joining us. And
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.